Hello and welcome back to Charging Status, the EV Focus podcast brought to you from The Interface. As always, I'm joined by my co-host, Jim Starling. Hi, Jim.
Hi, Alex. How are you?
I'm alright, feeling a bit festive. This isn't sponsored, by the way, just Greg's jumper, but I thought it was
If
quite fun.
anyone was to get a Greg sponsorship, it should be someone with my physique rather than yours, I would say. But,
Yeah, that's fair.
you know, yeah, you're supposed to argue with me there, but...
And being positive for Christmas. So.
What have you been up to?
I've had quite a few cars in recently. I think last episode we spoke about the ID Buzz. I know that video's gone out now. I've been a little bit behind on videos at the moment. I've got quite a few stacked up, ready to go. I just had the Mercedes e-Vito van. Lots of van stuff at the moment.
Yeah.
There's a video for that out soon. On the drive at the moment is a bright yellow Nissan Juke.
Nice.
Not electric in it by any means, but it's surprisingly good to drive, actually. The Juke has always been a bit of a joke. The old version's been a bit ugly and stuff, but I thought the new one looks pretty good. It's really nice to drive. It's quite fast as well.
Is that the hybrid or the petrol?
It's a hybrid automatic.
So is that the e-power?
Weirdly not. It's
okay.
When I reviewed the Qashqai, it had e-power on the doors and stuff. This one just says hybrid, so I haven't dug into exactly what's different yet.
So I had the last version of the hybrid Duke, the e-power.
Okay.
And I really didn't like it as a hybrid. I thought the hybrid thing was just noisy and weird, and actually the petrol one was much better.
Right. Okay.
But it actually had quite a lot to like about it.
Yeah.
I was quite surprised because I expected to dislike it with quite a deep passion. But I thought it was actually a really good little car.
Yeah, it's nice to drive. It's got yellow stitching and yellow like fabric everywhere because it's like the N Sport edition. It's got Bose speakers in the headrests for some reason, but I've only driven it a little bit so far, but it seems really good to start with. So yeah. And then the E-Transit Custom, I only had it for 3 days. I actually with that one I'm finding it quite difficult to get cars from Ford at the moment, so I did like a test drive of a E-Transit for 3 days and was going to film a video but didn't film in the end because it was covered in sign writing, so I just did a written review for that one. I was hoping to film that, but oh well. So yeah, that's pretty much it for me. Also, I was on, I don't know if you've seen it, EV Musings podcast by Gary Comerford. I was on his podcast. I'm going to be on another episode next month as well. But he was doing an episode like end of year reflections, but also he's been doing the podcast for 5 years, so he was reflecting on how things have changed in the EV space, like Nissan Leaf and going back. So I was on a short segment in that episode, which was quite good fun. So
cool.
Talking about old EVs and different things. So what have you been up to?
I've sort of been on catch up because obviously I was away at the end of last month for the LA show. I've sort of been on catch up from that, and then also trying to get ahead for Christmas a little bit. And I've actually decided I'm not going to put out loads of content over Christmas. I'm going to film 2 videos today, and I've already got 1 in stock.
Nice.
And so 1 will go out on Sunday. I don't know when this is going out, so this could be completely irrelevant by now. But so a couple of days before Christmas, I'll have a news video going out. Then I've got one of those reliability things going out, and I'm just going to do one where I turn the camera on and waffle about my favourite cars that I've driven this year. So I think that time of year is actually quite a good time for waffle kind of videos.
Yeah, I think so.
People to put something on and chill out. I also, the other night, did a video call with some of my channel members. There was supposed to be 3 of us on. One of the guys got held up at work, and he came on for about the last 3 minutes. But we had a really good chat, actually. And both the guys were ex-police, and they both have bought Teslas,
right,
or leased Teslas. So that was quite an interesting chat, which hopefully some of the people listening or watching this might also enjoy. And when I turned the cameras off, we chatted for like another hour. So I might start doing that quite regularly. Obviously, I asked you to come on that as well, but you were otherwise engaged. But maybe next time, try and jump onto that.
That sounds good.
It was quite good. Actually, so yeah, I'm going to have 3 videos going out still. I was on the Matthew Wright breakfast show recently, and I was supposed to be on Andrew Marr a couple of days before, but it got cancelled last minute because some news happened.
Okay.
And on Matthew Wright, they're asking, are people still going to buy Teslas because Elon Musk supports Donald Trump? And my response was, I don't think anyone's really going to give too much of a toss, and if they do, they're possibly hypocrites. I mean, I've got an Apple phone. Apple have suicide nets outside their factory where they're built because it's such an unpleasant place to work. I buy stuff from Amazon, and I dare say that Jeff Bezos is not possibly the nicest man on the face of the earth. I don't know, he could be, but I doubt it very much, because I think to get to billionaire status, you are a ruthless and very driven individual.
I think so.
And I think the one thing that Elon's got going for him is that he is a genius. I think he is widely regarded as a genius. Some people think he's also a prat, but he's a genius. And what happens in the US elections, I don't know why people in the UK get so upset about it, really. We don't live there, let them get on with it. And do you know what? If I lived there, would I support the man that wants us to go to war every 2 minutes, or would I support the man that says, I just want America to do well? I don't know.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was an interesting one, and there'll be loads of people that have strong opinions on it, but I was just kind of like, I don't get it.
Yeah.
So I'm possibly the wrong person to ask. So I don't know if they'll ask me back,
Maybe.
because they didn't get anything too sensational from me. But what I've been driving, I've driven the little Say It Me quite a bit. That's losing a lot of range in the winter, by the way.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, I expected it. I mean, the Tesla does, in fairness, even though it's got a heat pump. You know, a heat pump doesn't make such a massive amount of difference. But the Say It Me's, I reckon it goes down to about 90 miles of range, probably.
Okay.
And again, that car for me never does more than about 6 miles at a time. So it's not a problem in any way, shape or form, but I thought that was interesting. I am, in the new year, going to set about trying to get myself a long-termer from someone, like a 6-month loan or something, on something. So I could then hopefully get rid of the Say It Me, and then possibly when that long-termer comes to an end, I'll get myself another second car. So almost, I'm thinking to have a second car all the time as like a content car. So I spend 3 to 6 months with another car.
Okay.
Make a load of content with that. Get another one. So we'll see.
Okay.
We'll see what plays out. I'm sure everyone I ask for a long-termer will just tell me to go away very politely, and some perhaps not so politely. But, you know, we can but try.
Yeah.
Peek behind the curtain for you folks.
Yeah. Weirdly, the Aura's lost a bit of range in the winter. So, when was it? It was probably about a month ago. It was saying 225 on the range, whatever temperature it was about a month ago. It wasn't that cold. Now it's got a bit colder. It's saying 190, so it's lost a little bit of range, which is a bit strange. I can't remember if that car's got a heat pump.
I went out. My mate's got the standard. What is it? The Pure.
Yeah,
or something.
Pure Plus.
Yeah. So we went out on that last night, and he said it has dropped to about 145 or something.
Yeah,
which is about 20% loss.
It's about right, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. What's interesting with those two is that the larger battery's got, I think it's NMC, and the smaller one is just standard lithium ion. So NMC typically can withstand cold temperatures better. But yeah, we shall see what happens with that. But yeah, so far the Aura's been good. It's got some. I think I mentioned it last time. It's got some pretty weird bug where Aura are aware, but it basically when you connect your phone to CarPlay, the car just thinks it's in Cambridge, and it tells your phone that it's in Cambridge. So
weirdly, one of the guys on the call with me the other day is in Scotland, and when he got his Tesla, it thought he was in Holland. And actually, I think it still does, but he hasn't been in or hasn't like raised it with Tesla yet.
Okay.
But yeah, that thinks he's in Holland all the time. So
okay.
yeah, so when he downloads something on Spotify or something in the car, he gets
see.
Dutch adverts on it, which is fun.
Oh dear me, that's funny. We just want to give a quick shout out to Gary Cambridge from the UK EV Owners Club. He's shouted out our podcast quite a few times on Twitter or X recently. I've been helping Gary with his Wi-Fi and stuff recently, so he's a good bloke.
Yeah, he is a good bloke, and he's very balanced as well. Like, he's a massive EV fan, but he's very balanced with everything he does, and he's very supportive of other people creating things, which in this space, like, I'm not talking about just the EV space, but amongst car creators and stuff, there are literally a handful of people that will give each other a little bit of a push or a pat on the back or anything like that. And there are plenty that you help out at times. Certainly I've helped quite a few people out, and you get nothing back from them publicly or anything. And you don't do it for that, but when someone does it, I certainly always do, and I go out of my way to help people. So when someone does it back, I think, thanks very much. And yeah, it was just a nice chap.
Yeah, I think we mentioned it before when I was looking to get when I was looking for information on how to do car reviews and stuff. There's no like guidebook out there. There's no sort of instruction manual. And as I mentioned before, you're very gracious and give me a hand with that. Just telling me what to do basically and just some advice. So, but yeah, you're right. It's a very, very sort of not tunnel vision, but it's sort of a very lone warrior sort of thing. So
yeah, and you think sometimes just spending half an hour with someone might save them 6 months and a lot of money and time and effort and energy, and it's quite easy to do.
Yeah, I agree.
It doesn't cost you anything. Jonathan Porterfield as well, I need to shout out because, again, just super positive bloke, like shouts out people around him and stuff, produces like nice content, is not a complete loon with everything, nice and balanced, and just again a nice chap. So thanks to those two guys, really.
Good stuff.
At this point, it seems only right that I ask you good people to follow the podcast on whatever app you're listening to this on. If you're watching it on YouTube, please subscribe to this channel. We were, for a long time, on another YouTube channel, which had a reasonable number of subscribers. But Alex had so much content going into the one place that the algorithm didn't know if it was upside down, left or right. So this is now in a home on its own channel. It will always be on this channel, so please subscribe. It really does help us if we get more subscribers on this, and please just give a thumbs up, leave a positive review, share with your friends, stand on your head, clap your hands. All this kind of stuff is going to help us out massively, and we both really appreciate it. We have nothing from this. We get no financial reward from this or anything. We're doing it just for the love of it and to give you guys some content. So one of those and a follow is a nice little bit of payback for us.
We've got a little bit of news to get through. The very first one is the Jeep Avenger Electric has been quite an expensive vehicle for Jeep, really. And Stellantis have got a history of making quite expensive EVs. But they've lowered the price down by £5,000, and it's now starting at $29,999, which it used to be $34,999. But that, interestingly, puts it very, very close to the brand new Puma Gen E, which is also about that same sort of price. It's $29,995, which we spoke about last episode, actually. I thought that's pretty interesting. They've lowered the price down on each trim level as well, which is pretty good. So yeah.
Yeah, it still feels expensive to me for that car. I don't think it's. I think Stellantis EVs generally are not good enough for the price.
No.
But,
yeah, there you
go. Their CEO's just been. He was going to quit, and it looks like he's been pushed.
Oh, I see.
So that perhaps tells a tale. Do you know what, as well, on the Stellantis front, someone that watches my channel has got a brand new Peugeot 4008 that's done 4,000 miles, and the automatic gearbox is malfunctioning. He's taken it into Stellantis, and they've said, well, it's going to cost you $8,000 for a new gearbox, mate. And he said, well, it's done 4,000 miles and it's under warranty. And they've said, oh no, the gearbox is fine. It's user error. So I've been giving him some advice on how to deal with that.
Jeez.
Because I think that's absolutely shocking.
That is awful.
If they're going to make average cars and price them too high, their customer service needs to be bang on. And we'll see how that one develops. You might even see a video about that at some point, folks.
Fair. Wow. So yeah, we've also got so Neo has been selling EVs in mainland Europe for a little while now, but they haven't launched anything in the UK. That is about to change though, because they've got a new sub-brand called Onvo, and Neo are actually going to launch that in the UK first, mainly to do with the tariffs that are in the EU. So the tariffs in the EU are going to be 31%. I think starting next year, they're 31% now. So it's a lot higher than the ones we've got in the UK. So that's the main reason Neo are going to launch it in this country first. It's a Tesla Model Y rival sort of size vehicle. It's sold in China for the equivalent of £24,000. It uses BYD battery packs with 3 different versions available, and they've quoted 5 miles per kilowatt hour. The range that they're quoting is a little bit optimistic because it's using the CLTC cycle, which is China's own version of WLTP, and that was generally been a bit optimistic. But they're saying up to 620 miles of range, which is probably a bit lofty. So
yeah, interesting. I look forward to seeing. I mean, you've got this Neo coming along. We've got Xpeng coming along.
Yep.
There is some really interesting stuff coming out. But if that 620 miles ends up being 450, it's interesting enough, isn't it?
It's 450 is a really, really good amount of range.
Yeah.
It's not nothing to be sniffed at all, I don't think. So
no, I mean, no one's doing more than 450 miles in a day.
No.
What normally are they?
No, not at all. So
no. I don't know if you've seen as well, but there's a British firm working on a new £15,000 EV with a 160-mile range.
Oh, really?
It's called a Mika.
Oh.
It's going to be a 3-seat, 40-horsepower city car. It's going to rival the Citroen Ami and the Microlino. And it's an absolutely bizarre-looking thing. But I think we need more of this kind of stuff, like dirt cheap EVs that have a reasonable amount of range. That 160-mile range probably in the real world will end up being more like 100 miles, but a little 3-seat city car with 40 horsepower.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it's not going to be ever doing a long trip, is it?
No.
I just hope it can get to a reasonable speed. You know, we don't want something else that does 28 miles an hour. I hope it can do, 70 miles an hour. So if on a rare occasion you needed to take it onto a motorway, you could.
Yeah.
But interesting to see this kind of stuff and more people aiming for that, really sort of entry level section of the market without tons and tons of compromise required by the customer.
Yeah, this little Mika thing looks interesting. It says it's based in Warwickshire, which is not too far away from me. And it's got, it can have up to a 32 kilowatt hour battery pack, which is quite decent.
I feel a video opportunity for you there, Alex.
Yeah, that's a good idea actually. I'm going to have a see if they're available. Yeah, lots of Chinese stuff this episode. We've also got some news that BYD are going to start production in Europe by the end of next year, which is pretty interesting. So it's most likely a response to the new tariffs that are going to be in place. Quite lofty tariffs, really. I mean, nowhere near as high as the ones in the USA, but they're still pretty high. At the moment, they're going to start making the Dolphin and the Atto 3. So the Atto 3 is their first SUV. But what was interesting, when Stella Lee spoke to the German business magazine Capital, she said that the Atto 2 is also going to come at the same time, similar sort of time, which is going to be a smaller SUV sort of thing from the company, which would be quite good. I thought it was pretty interesting.
I think they headhunted like a real high up from Fiat,
right,
to sort of head this up as well. Someone with quite a lot of pedigree, from what I understand, to head up this new production facility. So it's not a case of trying to completely reinvent the wheel. You know, they've got someone with a lot of experience in production in Europe. So yeah, that could be very interesting, and it might just bring down the cost of their products. Obviously, they can't produce them as cheaply as they can in China, but
No.
you know, the tariffs and taxes and things and duties that are applied already are significant, let alone, you know, when these new tariffs come into play in a big way.
Yeah. The next model was supposed to be the Seagull, so that's now going to be a little bit delayed until after the Atto 2. I'm really hoping that they can make the Seagull quite a competitive price. If it's the same sort of price as the Insta, that seems to be a good sort of level. I know it won't be it won't be 10 grand like it is in China or whatever it is. It's just not gonna happen. But yeah. As I said, it's a very, very China focused episode this time around. But we've got some more commercial vehicle news. This new electric van from Farizon, I think Farizon. It's like a Geely sub brand. That's going to launch in the UK next year as well. And this is going to be sort of going head to head with the ID Buzz Cargo and the E-Transit Custom. And there's going to be a lot of customization available, so lots of different body lengths and heights as well. Because at the moment, if you order an E-Transit Custom, you can only get it in the one height for now, so they're a little bit behind on that. And the payload looks pretty good, and they're going to put up to 106 kilowatt hour battery pack in that thing as well at a later stage, which is really good because in the E-Transit Custom you can only get up to 64 kilowatt hours, and it's limited the range a little bit. So,
and once you've got your payload on board, that obviously it's going to limit it further. So they do need bigger batteries. It's always puzzled me when you've got so much real estate in a van. Why not have a bit of a bigger battery?
Well, it's mainly sometimes to do with obviously keeping it under the HGV weight.
Yeah.
Like when I was looking at the Transit, it was saying just over a ton payload, but the ID Buzz Cargo, I think it was 500 to 600 kilo. But there's a 20 something kilowatt hour difference in there. But it's interesting.
Obviously, the battery technology is getting more energy dense, so it's a sort of now problem that probably won't be around in a couple of years. I guess.
Yeah. It looks pretty good. They're going to be imported and sold by Jamil Motors, the official distributor for Geely, but there's no price information at the moment.
Do you know when I first saw that, I immediately thought Honda had produced a van.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't know. It just, to me, that front end just looks Honda. And I don't know why, because it doesn't actually look like any Honda, but something about it like screams Honda at me. But there we go. That's a lovely segue, by the way, isn't it?
It is, isn't it? Yeah.
Anyone would think I was a professional. This is incredible.
Oh, don't let them think that.
I don't want to get that kind of reputation. The Nissan-Honda merger, which lots of people are talking about. So it's both companies released an identical statement, which sort of said they are in talks, but didn't say they're in talks. But it looks like they'll admit to it next week. I've actually done a video about this. And it looks like Mitsubishi might get drawn into the mix as well. Now, this is by no means a done deal, and it could, I think the Japanese sort of political interference in this could be huge, and the competition, the sort of monopolies commission in Japan, whatever the equivalent of that is, are evidently fairly heavy-handed, and I think with the three of them merging, it would make them like 30% of the Japanese motor industry, and that might be seen as too much. So I think Toyota are already about 30%, and they might think this is too much across, a couple of companies. But it's very interesting. Now, obviously, they announced this joint venture earlier in the year to sort of share strengths and weaknesses. And I think Honda were looking at Nissan thinking, well, they've got a bit more pedigree than we have with EV. And Nissan looking at Honda thinking, well, their reliability is outstanding, their hybrid systems are outstanding, and and we're not very good at either of those things. I think another complication is that Renault owns 15% of Nissan, and I can't see Honda and Renault being particularly comfortable bedfellows, potentially. But it could be that Renault agrees to be kind of a silent partner and now owns a small part of a much bigger group. But I think it's a real sign that the Japanese car manufacturers are now realising that they missed the boat and they need to change their ways very quickly.
I agree. They are
the
far
other
behind.
Japanese thing, by the way,
That's right.
the other reason the government could poo-poo it is that it will result in lots of job losses because there's going to be a ton of overlap between the two companies in terms of their staffing and their infrastructure. So that might mean it gets the kibosh. But yeah, potentially very interesting.
Yeah, lots of stuff happening there. Yeah, the Japanese are so far behind in terms of EVs. I think Suzuki, up until recently, they just announced the new e-Vitara a while back, which we didn't talk about on the show actually, but that's their first EV. It's like, how have you left it this long? And then Toyota are going to rebadge that EV as the Urban Cruiser.
Urban Cruiser, yeah.
That name's going to come back. And as you mentioned on your little video, the Honda haven't, apart from the their EMY1, which I reviewed in January this year, wasn't very good. So, yeah, they just need to catch up. I think just been sat on their hands for too long, I think.
Yeah, that little Urban Cruiser or Suzuki, whatever it is, it looks like it could be quite cool. Yeah, and will be sort of a viable vehicle for them at last, because I don't think the NY1 ever has been. It came to market as really not that great a vehicle at really top dollar. Yep. I mean, if they'd have priced it, if they could have priced it somehow, 15 grand less, they might have sold a few. But it's a tough one. Obviously, that's also the Suzuki Solterra. Right. Okay. Not Suzuki. Subaru Solterra.
Oh, that thing.
The ENY1. They're exactly the same car, but slightly different drivetrain options.
Oh, you mean the Toyota B4Z?
The B4Z.
Yes.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm ENY1 in, and
it's a bit early.
It's the other thing they need to do is come up, like the Urban Cruiser is much better than the BZ4X. Yeah. You know, we don't want to start naming cars like motorbikes, do we? No. Get terribly, terribly confusing. But yeah, I mean, obviously, there's a fair degree of panic going on at the moment in the industry in general, but I would say especially so in Japan.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, just a bit on the topic of Nissan. There was don't know if you've had a chance to watch it. There was a documentary about Carlos Ghosn that Apple TV made, and it was outstanding.
I haven't seen that.
Yeah, it was like a 4-parter or 5-parter. Just describe. It was him. Carlos was running the documentary kind of thing. It was him being interviewed, but it's just about his time and how he escaped Japan when he was in legal issues and stuff, in a box and stuff. That was really gripping. There's not many things on TV platforms at the moment that sort of grip you, and keep you engaged. And that was, if anyone's got any chance to watch that over the holidays or something, or if you, whatever, you can watch that, because I thought it was really, really interesting how he escaped all the legal issues, and he's still hiding somewhere in some country somewhere. So yeah. So
I didn't know that was out, actually. I knew it was being made, but I didn't know it was out, so I'll have to check that out.
Yeah. It's on Apple TV Plus, so if anyone's got that.
Okay, cool. So. What are you up to next month in January? What are you driving?
I haven't got anything booked in for January, but I'm taking the Ora to Ireland, actually.
Okay.
I've got a friend of mine who's in the Northern Ireland, the very top. So taking the ferry over to Dublin. And
whereabouts in Northern Ireland?
Oh, it's like Ballycastle. The very, very near Giant's Causeway. It's very, very the top.
Yeah, that's very Northern Ireland then. Yeah.
Yeah. So actually, what's really annoying is when we were planning this, the ferry from Holyhead to Dublin has been cancelled. Oh. So the whole port's been closed until the 15th. So we're now going to go from Pembrokeshire, which is in Wales, the very, very bottom, across to the bottom of Ireland, and then drive all the way up the...
What, to Cork or something?
No, it's... what is it called? Rosslare?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you're going from sort of almost, well, from South Wales, I guess.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
And then, be quite good. Stopping overnight in Dublin.
That's a big drive, isn't it?
It is, yeah. It'd be all right. It's, it'd be quite good fun, so spending a week over there.
Northern Ireland is, I mean, I've travelled all over the UK for work, and like all over the UK for work, I mean. And quite a lot of places in the world, and Northern Ireland is one of my favourite places.
Okay.
I think the scenery is amazing. I think the people are absolutely amazing. The food's fantastic, and like each place still has an individual personality.
Right.
Like you can go on the high street and there are 3 different butchers and 3 different bakers, and you've still got Tesco's and what have you, but you've still got like communities and things. And I mean, checking into a hotel in Northern Ireland usually takes about 20 minutes because you end up hearing the life story of the person that's on the front desk, and they're just such lovely, friendly people. And it is a beautiful country, and it's so sparsely populated as well. You know, when you're around Belfast, you'll see some traffic, and Belfast is busy enough, but you get beyond it and you're on like the main motorway, and it's like 3 a.m. at all times. Yeah, but brilliant place. You'll love it.
Yeah, it should be good. The charging infrastructure doesn't seem as dense as what we've got here, but there's enough stuff. I've had a look at that, so it'll be pretty good.
Yeah, I suppose Dublin and Belfast will be all right.
There's quite a few. A lot of Ionity. I've noticed there's a big price difference between. If you look at Ionity in Ireland, it's like the equivalent of like 50p, and as soon as you cross over to Northern Ireland, it's like 66p instantly.
It's funny because I think you'll find everything else is very much the opposite of that.
Oh, okay.
Like Southern Ireland is very expensive for food and drink, and I don't know, just general cost of living, I think.
Okay.
Where Northern Ireland's pretty cheap for all that. Someone commented in one of my lease videos, and I get it quite regularly, but they're saying how different the sort of leasing costs are.
Right.
In Southern Ireland, it's really expensive to lease a car. Like it doesn't really make any sense. Where obviously over here we've got some amazing prices at times. Lots
of really good deals at the moment. So
yeah.
And then also I'm going to be, that's in January as well. I'm going to be on the EV Owners Lounge live podcast. At least a live broadcast show. I think that's on the 8th of January. I think so.
Okay, cool.
Well, like sort of lunchtime sort of time. So be quite good. So
yeah,
I'll post some links.
Is that
That's with Mark, I think.
Okay, I don't know that one, but
that is with Mark Miller from.
Oh, of course. Yeah. I do know that one.
Mobilary EV. So
Mobular Ray.
That's it. Yep.
Yeah, I do know that one. Yeah,
Mobular Ray.
I just didn't know the name.
Yeah.
And obviously we're going to a podcast next month, aren't we?
We are actually.
The day after my birthday.
Oh, what a treat! What a treat for you to spend the day with me.
Yeah, don't make it embarrassing though, Alex. I don't want you spending more than 500 quid on me.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
We're going to Smith and Sniff, aren't we, at the Haynes Motor Museum?
Oh, it'd be so good. I went to the one. I don't think I spoke about last episode. I went to the one at the Mini Factory a couple of weeks ago. That was really awesome. And then they weren't going to do any more until there's going to be one in where is it? Down south somewhere. It was going to be too far to go for both of us. I think it was over the right hand side of the country, but it's going to be
was it like Eastbourne?
That's it, Eastbourne.
Like
yeah. And then there was going to be one in February that was sold out, but this one they just added a few days ago, so be quite nice. Cool. So
yeah, look forward to that.
Yeah,
I went to one of those late break show lives over the Yeovil way a couple of years ago. It was like a Christmas one, and that was really good fun. Unfortunately, I didn't get to have a chat with Johnny or anything, but I had a good chat with Jason Plato, which was cool. He's quite the character. and he signed the number plate for my car at the time because my number plate was JP66 JPP, and I had a spare plate, so I took it in and he signed it for me.
Nice.
Yeah, but yeah, that was good fun. Yeah, so look forward to that. I love Richard Porter.
Yeah,
I could listen to him talk about anything. I
Me
just
too.
think he's just a funny, engaging guy, and
Yeah. Well,
and you see a different, or you hear a very different side of Johnny on that.
You
as
do,
well,
don't you?
Like, yeah,
It's like his silly side. Yeah.
yeah.
I think a good example of that is I think there was a episode on Smith and Sniff a while back where I think Johnny wasn't on it, so Richard just sort of drove around Warwickshire looking for this new Jag that obviously been announced now. Just him waffling on for like an hour and a half. Just him driving around trying to look for this car. It's like, yeah, it was just
Brilliant.
Just brilliant. Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever noticed, but I actually haven't done it for a long time. But I used to put Easter eggs in my car review videos. So when I showed the stereo or the infotainment screen, it would always have Smith and Sniff podcast on, and no one ever mentioned it in the comments.
Oh.
And now when I do it, I'll have our podcast on generally if I remember to do it.
Me too. Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I did that in multiple car review videos, and not one person ever mentioned it in the comments.
I always noticed it, but I didn't think to mention it. I just thought it was. I didn't think it was on purpose. I thought it was an accident. It's like
No, completely on.
Okay.
I think the first time I did it was an accident, and I thought, oh, this could be quite funny.
Yeah.
I could just always put this in and see if anyone ever notices, and no one ever did.
yeah. What cars have you been driving? What cars are you going to be driving in the next few weeks on your channel?
I've only got a couple booked in so far. I've got the MGHS, which I think I'm getting the petrol one.
Okay.
I actually drove that and recorded a full review of it
Oh no.
fairly recently,
Yep.
and my mic had failed.
Oh no.
And I say my mic had failed, but actually I later discovered that I had failed.
Ah.
Because I had the I had the cable plugged into the headphone output on the camera and not the mic input. So I went and bought some new microphones because I was so furious with the other ones.
Right.
And I didn't need to really, but I actually prefer the new ones anyway. So
Are these the little DJI ones? DJI, sorry.
DJI.
Yes.
Yeah. So they're these little fellas.
Oh yeah.
They're actually really, really good. And
good.
super simple. So yeah, I'm quite happy with those. Although they can't do some of the things the other ones did, I didn't particularly use or benefit from those features. I didn't feel so. And then when that one goes back, they're dropping me off the Cyberster,
Nice.
and I've got that for a week. So probably January is not the time to have a convertible. That will be my first convertible that I've ever had on the channel.
Nice.
And I was at this MG event the other week, and they had the coupe version, which seems like it might not go into production, or we might not get it here.
Okay.
But it may do. But I had a really good chat with one of the executives from the company about the Cyberster, and he was saying that it's sort of excelled their sales expectations.
Oh really?
I think they expected to sell like 300 of them, and it's done better than that.
Wow. Fair play.
And MG in general have done amazingly well with their sales. And it now looks like, I said last time that the MG5 was disappearing, and not going to be replaced, but that appears to have been confirmed.
Yes.
And they will replace it with an SUV, another SUV.
Yeah.
Yawn.
Yeah. I wrote a story. I think it was a few days after we recorded actually that they come out and officially said that. Yeah, it was going to be cancelled.
I think that's where I read it actually was your story. So yeah.
They said at the moment there's no plans to directly replace this. As soon as the MG4 came out, it killed the MG5. So.
By the way, I saw you had a new contributor on the interface.
Oh God, yeah, I forgot. So I don't know, in the last few years, the EV community on Twitter there's quite a few people I follow, which have it's a really nice community. As if I don't know, it just seems quite a nice, funny community. There's a guy called Graham Cobb. He I'm not sure what he does for a job, but he's really good at writing, like really easy to understand content about EVs. He typically writes it off the cuff and puts it on Twitter and Blue Sky and stuff. But I asked him a while back, do you want to write something about the state of the mainly to do with the sales, the SMMT sales numbers. But he wrote something quite interesting about the disruption of EVs in the car market. So there's a link to that in the show notes. But it's quite a lengthy article actually, just discussing all the misinformation, all the if you look at the mainstream media, how they report on how the EV sales are reported, it's all a load of tosh. That happens at the moment. I don't know why, but yeah, it was really good. So I think he's going to do a few more at some point. But cool. He's a busy man, so yeah, pretty good.
Nice.
Shall we quickly, before we finish, go through sort of our? I know you're going to do a video at some point on your channel about what cars you've driven this year, but we'll just quickly go through what sort of the best cars we've driven this year, I guess.
Yeah, I'm just going to bring up my calendar. So I'm not massively well prepared, folks.
No.
So EVs, I've had MG4 X-Power.
Oh yeah.
The Mercedes E-Citan van, the e-Vito Tourer, Tesla Model 3, Kia EV9, BYD Seal, Audi Q8 e-tron, Kona Electric, Hyundai Kona, KGM Torres, Polestar 2, don't laugh Alex, KGM Torres, EV6 GT, sorry this is bad pod at the moment, Ioniq 5N.
Oh yeah.
And the Mini Cooper Electric.
Oh yeah.
And I think that's it, apart from things I've driven at drive days and stuff, but for actual reviews. And my favourite's the Ioniq 5N, but the best one was the Tesla Model 3.
Right, okay.
Yeah, and I think if you consider everything the car offers and the value versus fun versus equipment versus range,
yep,
and you throw all that into a massive pot, I feel like the Tesla Model 3, just the Bogo standard Tesla Model 3, I think is 25% ahead of the pack. Yeah,
I think that's the one I had when I reviewed it. It was the red with the nice alloys and stuff. So yeah, I can see that. It's a nice car to drive, definitely. So
what's been your favourite?
I had the very top of the year. I had the EMY1, the BMW i5, and then I had I did the Dolphin on a drive day, Nissan Townstar van, that was pretty good. The e-Citan or the e-Citan, ID7, Genesis GV60, which I took to Scotland, which was pretty awesome. Torres EVX, BYD Dolphin, the Nissan Aria, the Hyundai Kona, Model 3, EV9, G80 Electric, Porsche Macan, and then the ID Buzz. So, it's quite a lot this year, actually.
A lot of strong cars in there as well.
Yeah. The i5 surprised me, actually. I never really done much BMW stuff. I'd never really driven them before either, but that really impressed me. The charging speed on that was over 200 kilowatt, which was just incredible.
Yeah.
The EMY1 was a little bit disappointing, to be honest, when I reviewed that in January. But it was...
Do you think that was worse than the Torres or not?
No. The EMY1 is a well-built car. Just the EV part of it was a little bit disappointing. Whereas the Torres EVX, the bits that should be the basic stuff that didn't get right.
We're both going to the Action launch, aren't we, next month?
That's the pickup truck, I think, isn't it? Is that right? Was that a big SUV?
No, it's I think a slightly smaller SUV.
Oh, of course it is. Yeah.
So
that'd be pretty good.
Yeah, and hopefully they've, learned a couple of things from the EVX, the Torres EVX, and
let's hope so. Yeah.
Another shot at it. might be worthwhile.
Yeah. The Hyundai Kona was pretty good, to be honest.
It's really good, yeah.
I've seen other people say it's really boring, but it's like, well, it is going to be a little bit boring because it's sensible. It's like a sensible car, but it was really efficient. It charged pretty quickly.
Yeah.
It looks.
I
quite
feel
funky.
like they could have spent 10 minutes more on the interior.
Yeah.
It would have benefited from that. But I always say it's like a bit of a thinking. Certainly, as a used buy, it's a thinking man's EV all day long.
Yep.
But I mean, they offer a lot for the money. It's a shame it's not in the 800-volt architecture. If it were, it would be like probably up there with the Tesla in my eyes.
Yeah, it's like the EV3. The new EV3 from Kia is not on the 800-volt architecture either.
No.
I'm struggling to think what my favourite car was.
Got to have some love for that Genesis as well, by the way.
Oh, the GV60. That's
you drove that down to me, didn't you? The 80.
Oh, the G80. Yeah, that was really impressive. That thing just soaked up miles.
It's glorious, isn't it? It's a lounge.
Yeah, it made that journey so easy.
Yeah,
and just so effortless, and it worked on the Tesla network as well.
It's what, like a good 2.5 hours down to me.
Yeah,
and just gone.
Yeah, easily 100%. I did the same journey in the Ora the other week as well, to go and see previous co-host James. It's his birthday, but and it wasn't as comfy, but yeah, and then. Yeah, I think I said the same thing last year. The GV60, I think that was my favourite car again. I just got a soft spot for that car. I think.
Yeah,
I would love to own one day. But yeah, I think that's probably my favourite car this year, just because it's so efficient and so easy to drive, and yeah. So that was when I put a tweet out saying I did a journey so easily, and all the grumpy men on Twitter didn't believe me. So.
Yeah.
I just can't believe that. But yeah.
Cool.
I think that's going to do it for this episode. It's been a pretty good year for EV news. We're definitely going to carry on the podcast next year. It's been definitely good fun to do. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Any final words, do you think?
Just remember our Christmas present should be a subscription, a follow, a thumbs up, and a nice review. And you need to stand on your heads and clap.
Yeah, that
last bit's very important. If you don't do that, Alex will hunt you down and possibly injure you.
Okay.
Or make you wear one of those Greg's jumpers. one or the other. Hope everyone has a brilliant Christmas and New Year. I did a little video the other day because a viewer of my channel was involved in an accident where him and a friend were hit by a drunk driver. They were in a brand new Mini Electric. That car was written off, and the people that attended said that the only reason they got away with several broken bones each was because they were in a new car. And there are lots of people out there still that drink drive, and the numbers actually go up every year. And just don't do it, folks. Like, if you're considering, am I over the limit or not, just consider that you are, and don't get in the car. It is not worth it. I used to work with someone who's killed at 19 years old by a drink driver. There are millions of stories like it across the world. And you don't have to cast your net too far within your circle of friends to find someone that's had their life affected by a drink driver. So, yeah, sorry, bit of a downer, but have a good Christmas.
Yeah.
Drink, but don't get in a car afterwards.
Yeah, just very stupid to do that, to be honest. On that note, thank you so much for watching or listening to this episode of the Charging Status Podcast. You can find us in video on YouTube and in audio wherever you get your podcasts. For full description and everything we've mentioned in this show, visit the episode link in the show notes. Thanks, everyone, and we'll see you in the new year.
Bye-bye. That's a great jumper, by the way.
It's a bit smaller than I remember it being, but
Yeah, my clothes are like that every time I put them on.